All right, this is part 2 at 7:40 a.m. at May 26, 2012 of presidential debate for President TYFUS on the loose. Now let's talk about predictions. Nostradamus came up with a lot of predictions, but one of them says that even in the show dealing with Orson Welles, one of them says that some foreign leader with a blue turban will be launching missiles at the United States, and nothing will keep the new city, from being destroyed. Meaning, New York City. And Case contradicted that by saying, Edgar Casey, by saying that Los Angeles and California will be dead or gone long before New York is. Now let's back up and talk a little bit more about what's going on in the world. Does the government have a secret plan to kill off a whole bunch of people? Hundreds of millions of people? Who knows? Who cares? I certainly don't care. They've already done their damage to me repeatedly. Their guerrilla warfare. Their domestic guerrilla warfare against people like me. Anyway, the prediction in Nostradamus talks about how so many missiles will be launched that nothing will keep the new city from being destroyed. Well, you got to remember, you can't interpret it literally. Maybe they're not missiles. Maybe these attacks are Al-Qaeda. And when they talk about missiles, they mean people. They're operatives. That they're all going to go off and do their own thing, raise their own jihad, an individual jihad of each person going after the United States in some way or fashion. And, of course, they have to educate themselves. So, you have to be careful on how you attack this country, because I'm sure they've got all their feelers out there. But you can't be infiltrated if you're not in a cell group, or you're not in any kind of group at all. They could use remote viewers to try and locate you, but then there's so many of you that they have to hire on tons and tons of remote viewers, hoping that one or two of them might get lucky and pinpoint where all these potential attacks, which individuals are going to launch these potential attacks. Now, when I ran for president in 2008, I told VoteSmart, who I hate now, they wouldn't publish my full picture of me in my royal robe in my throne room. And, it's not because, I like that kind of thing. It's because it's a parody on what these lousy politicians think of themselves. It's them that think of themselves as in royal robes and having special status in this country. When I was in school as a kid, I was told, a poor man, I saw a set of scales, like Al Gore talks about in Inconvenient Truth. Well, he talked about the earth on one scale and bars of gold on the other, and everybody had to make a choice. Well, and he said, well, what can you do with bars of gold if there's that's not a very good choice. But I remember in school I was opening a history book, and it said the three branches of the government, and the judicial branch looks at all people as equals. And they had a poor man on the scale and a rich man on the scale, and of course the rich man outweighs the poor man, or it's supposed to be equal. But I even at that young age, I put the scale at a crooked thing and said the rich man is higher and the poor man is lower. So, but self-respect is a very important thing for people. But how can you have self-respect when your self-respect is being destroyed every day of your life? Or is the subject of a form of guerrilla warfare that the city, whether they know about it or not, whether it's intentional or not, the city wages every day on people. So instead of finding, like I said, a peaceful, non-destructive solution to these problems, you have these morons who are run by big money. And I'm looking at people right now. They're driving through Starbucks, getting their coffee, and so on. You know, they need to bring back the program Connections with James Burke, even though it's an old program. That would be nice. One of them is called, it talks about the big blackout in New York City and what went on and what caused it. James Burke shows this relay. And he goes to show you what would happen and what you would have to do in order to survive. Because no electricity, nothing works. Like in the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original, no electricity. It all gets shut off. What would people do? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Most of the people are very dangerous. They turn into very, very, very crazy people. Anyway, back to Nostradamus. So Nostradamus in his prediction says that, we're still on. Nostradamus says, he says that so many missiles will be headed towards this country that, they'll be overwhelmed. And that's exactly what's going on with Al-Qaeda. So many individuals are pissed off that you're not going to be able to fight back. That a lot of you will die in large numbers. But, again, when I was at VoteSmart and I told them, I answered their stupid political courage test, which is a bunch of garbage. I told them, there's much of these questions I can't answer and won't answer because I'm not debriefed like the president. Johnson debriefed when he chose not to run. He debriefed both sides. He debriefed Nixon. He debriefed McCarthy. He debriefed. I'm pretty sure it was Eugene McCarthy. He debriefed everybody. Both Democrats and Republicans got debriefed on the situations going on, so that they would have an in-depth idea of what kind of problems they're going to be dealing with if they get elected. So they're asking these candidates, potential candidates, all in what would you do and what would you do? Let me tell you, you could say 1,000 things of what you would do. Get in there, and then half of the stuff is not going to be applicable because that's how fast things change. Some days any president or leader can do something, and some days they can't. Now, that was in the days when the media wasn't as controlled as it is today. So you've got your hands full, really full, at having to deal with a problem that is going to surmount and get bigger and bigger until, here's a lady that just went by with a dog in her car. And he said, with a typhus scare, I'm pretty sure that everybody's going to be buying that anti-flea stuff. But, even if you get the anti-flea stuff and the fleas don't sit on your dog or animal, they're going to jump off and just jump on a possum or jump on any other animals, including humans. So now humans will be walking around with anti-flea spray and whatever else. But nothing's going to protect you from mosquitoes. Well, they do have anti-mosquito spray, but that's only good for a few hours. See, the tiniest things, like in the movie War of the Worlds, where the only thing that stopped the assault of the aliens was the bacteria. Humans were used to all these forms of bacteria that are in the air, and the aliens couldn't handle it because they've never been exposed to that. They didn't build an immune response to it, so they died. And that foiled the invasion. Well, in this particular case, it's the same thing that's coming after you with Al-Qaeda. What's going to happen? Well, we'll have to wait and see. How about all those attacks of I'm got to straighten this camera up. What about all those attacks with, or the problems that you had with your foods, getting E. coli? Why are there so many breakouts of E. coli in your meats, in your vegetables, in your fruits? I mean, I never would have thought E. coli would have shown up in vegetables and fruit, but evidently somebody did something wrong. Or parsley, the parsley scare, the strawberries. But it was the strawberries, Captain Quid. It was the strawberries that did it. So there it is. And the only person that could have given you a better lease on life would have been me in 2008 and in 2004 and in 2000. I had a plan that would have kept people from using guns for violent crimes. Trust me, my plan would work. But I can't talk about it because the government will probably come up with it eventually, but they'll steal the idea from me. Of course, if they come up with it finally, then I'll come up and say, I came up with that idea first, many, many years ago. Who's going to care? But I'm not going to tell anybody what my secret plans are, or my selectively suppressed ideas are. Self-suppressed, I call it, because I don't want to share them with a country that has done me 30 years worth of damages. My twin and me ran across the country in 1984 when he was running for president. That was during the Reagan era. And I was with him a lot of the time. I stood in for him. But then we kind of parted ways for a few months on and off when he ran. And I got a lot of my ideas from him. But, you know, what really hacks me off is all, I don't have to repeat it, it's all the 180 videos. What really hacks me off is that you people stole ideas from both of us, actually. So you got to remember that. Remember what I said in my other videos about DNA? Each person has a chance of being a mental giant, but they can't be a mental giant if their life is impeded, destroyed, interfered with, and most of all, if their possessions are taken away from them. Possessions are a form of achievement, self-achievement, self-respect, and you people destroyed that in me. So, if Al-Qaeda is going to attack you, I welcome them to attack you. You all deserve it. Because all you've done to me is destroy my life. I'm now reduced to a bicycle, a box on the back, a laptop. Oh, I should be thankful about the technology. You know, YouTube, like I said on YouTube in the past, you're more interested in sex and naked stuff or almost naked stuff on YouTube or Lady Gaga or whoever than somebody like me who's been damaged over and over again by your country. In actual fact, more than a decade ago, I wanted to leave. I tried to leave, but I wanted to take all my stuff with me because my stuff, my possessions represent my hard work, my labor work equity. All the years that I've worked shows that I had something tangible that I put value in that show that when whatever country I would go to, people say, wow, you worked hard to get all of this. Yeah. I worked hard my whole life, and you people stole it from me. So I hope you're happy. But I know that all of your happiness or your ignorance of me is going to be short-lived because Al-Qaeda is going to keep attacking you people. And you got to ask yourself, why would typhus just pop up all of a sudden? Something that hasn't been around since the 1800s, when Typhoid Mary was around. You got to ask yourself that question. Well, we're getting on to 15 minutes. It's part 2 of debate for president, typhus, question mark, and other diseases that may come up.